Is this the one? Oh, foldables are an interesting category, aren't they? This is the Z, and we do say Z in the UK. Samsung says Z. Get over it. The Z Fold 7, and it's brilliant. It's utterly amazing. This is the OPPO Find N6 smartphone. That's foldable, etc. You can't buy it in the UK. You can't buy it in the US. I think it's pretty much Asian countries only, China, etc. Which is a shame, to be honest. But I've had it for about a month now. And, it's got a lot going for it. It really, really has. It also is the world's first zero-feel crease foldable. And by that, OPPO believes they've basically fixed the whole crease thing, which people don't like. Not everyone, but there are quite a big bunch of people on the internet in particular who don't like the idea of a crease on your foldable. Have they fixed that? More importantly, have they fixed the main gripes that people have with foldables? That's what I'm going to tackle today. Before I do that, just a very quick word about my newsletter. It's completely free. You can unsubscribe at any time, and every week you'll get content that you don't see on this channel, and potentially the odd giveaway and some other exciting stuff. Go and click that link below. Let's get into this. Let's pick out the specs that matter. It has the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chip with 16 gig of RAM. The display, the outside display, is a 6.62-inch OLED with a 120Hz refresh rate and up to 3600 nits of peak brightness. The inner display, the big one, is 8.12 inches. That's OLED. That has a 120Hz refresh rate as well, but the peak brightness is 2500 nits. Folded, it's 8.93 millimeters thin or thick, whatever you want to call it, and it weighs 225 grams. And as OPPO has pointed out, that makes it a bit thinner and a bit lighter than certain regular phones, which is quite impressive. It has a 6000 milliamp hour battery, which does 80 watt wired charging and 50 watt wireless charging. The camera system features a 200 megapixel main sensor, and it can shoot up to 4K 120 frames per second in Dolby Vision. Pricing, if we have it to hand by the time this video goes live, will be down here. If we don't have it, it's not down here, but we will update the description at some point. And the availability I've explained a moment ago. There are 6 main concerns that people have about foldable phones. Has this fixed all of them, or some of them, or any of them? Let's get into it. Concern number 1, the crease. Now the crease, if you didn't know, is what happens with a foldable phone because it folds, which means when you unfold it, there's a crease in the middle of the display, the internal display, because of course there is. Now, these manufacturers have been trying for the last few years to reduce that crease to the point where you can barely feel it or see it. It doesn't bother me, I'll be completely honest. I think I've used a lot of foldables, I've used them quite extensively, and the more you use them and the more they become your main phone, the less you care about it. It's just a facet of that phone. It's not a big deal. But I do understand why they're trying to get rid of it, because the dream is to open one of these up and have just a completely flat panel like you would on a big tablet. Now this has something called zero feel crease foldable technology or something. In layman's terms, I sat through a briefing about this, and it was very entertaining and very, very, very detailed and very useful actually, but there were lots of very complicated technical manufacturing terms which I did note down, but you will leave this video immediately if I start trying to explain what they mean. Basically, for someone like me to understand this, it means that when you open this, the fold, the bit of the screen that is the foldable part of it, is pushed up slightly, I think. So it's kind of raised a little bit. If I'm getting this wrong, I'm sorry, OPPO, but it's something like that. It basically levels off the bit that is creased and dipped slightly. Now, does it work? I've just noticed this is covered in fingerprints, which won't help. Big key light reflection there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Can you see that? Can you see that crease? It's there, but you have to spy it out. No one does this. If you buy one of these, you're not going to be going, you're going to be using it, you know. And that, I suppose the important thing is the feel, that's a very important use of that word. You can still feel it, but again, not as much as other foldables on the market. It's just less. Your finger goes across it and you feel it. It's definitely different compared to the other sides of the display, but it's less than normal. We're getting somewhere. Concern number 2, foldables are too bulky and too heavy. Nope. Concern number 3, the inner screen is too hard to use for multitasking. I don't quite get this one, but I do see it quite often that people say it's great having that big display, but I don't like the idea of moving windows around and all that sort of stuff. Well, you don't have to do that. You can just use the OPPO Find N6 for dual screen multitasking, one either side, but you can float windows around and occasionally it's quite useful. The other thing that is useful on the N6 is the fact that it is compatible with a stylus. This thing here, which sits quite nicely in the back of the case that we have here, which is, I think it's an optional extra, but it's a nice way of doing it, and it charges wirelessly. It doesn't have to be inserted into anything in terms of the phone itself. You just place it in there and it starts charging. Nice. The only thing I have found with it is that occasionally I put it in incorrectly like that and it sticks out, but that's just a minor gripe. But you can use this for multitasking. So you can use this to interact with the windows on your display and resize them more accurately and do all that sort of stuff. And it has this little button on it here, which if you press, it gives you a little menu where you can pull a laser pointer, you can annotate, you can do a quick note, you can capture stuff on the screen. From a productivity perspective, this is a very productive phone. And I don't agree with the whole thing about multitasking. I think it is useful for a certain type of user. Concern number 4 relates to the camera system and the fact that lots of people think that foldables have worse camera systems than normal phones. And in some cases that is true, but it's becoming less true. And with the N6, we have a Hasselblad capable camera system. And if you've ever used an OPPO phone, like for instance, the X9 Pro or even the X8 Pro and even phones before that, their cameras are utterly fantastic. The good news is you get pretty much the same camera performance on the N6. It's not quite as good as the X9 Pro. The X9 Pro has a bit more, I guess it's just more of a camera phone, really, but they've taken the best elements of that and slapped it into this, which is all we can ask for. And these photos I'm showing you now, personally, I think they are lovely. These are straight out of the camera, no edits, no faffing around with them. They just come straight out and they look lovely. Focal length wise, I need to remind myself we get 2x, 3x, 6x, and yes, there is some AI going on depending on which focal length you choose, and it goes right up to 120, which is ridiculous, but again, it might be handy if you're trying to shoot something miles away and you want as good a photo as possible. It's a really good camera system. I can't really pick a fault with it. It just works so nicely, and I love those photos. Concern number 5 is the battery. Batteries in foldables apparently are going to be useless because they have to power that display and that huge display inside, which means, yeah, certainly when it comes to being a very thin phone, you ain't getting much battery. The N6 is ridiculous. It's a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. It's made from silicon kryptonite, which is very important, obviously, for some people. And because of that, it lasts, not forever, but it lasts a long, long time. The standby time on these silicon carbon batteries is mind-blowing. And it's the same with this. You can leave this doing nothing for days, and it's just still there. It's still working. But in normal use, 2 days. You can get 2 days out of this phone, which it's cracked it. Concern number 6 relates to the durability of foldables, which I completely understand. You know, the idea of doing that again and again and again over, let's say, 2 years or even a year. How long is that hinge going to take that? And in this case, how long is the zero crease feel thing going to last? Is it going to start dipping and all that kind of thing? I get it. However, during the briefing for this, we were shown a version of this phone that had done 200,000 folds, I think, and it looked and felt just the same as the new one. I mean, that was a briefing and, you know, that's one example of it, but whatever, that is reassuring. And they do test these to millions of folds, I think. So that is less of a problem. And I haven't used, to be fair, a foldable within the last 2 years that has had any issues with that sort of thing. So I wouldn't worry about that. Also, when it comes to water and dust resistance, this has IP59, IP58 and IP56. For some reason. It doesn't have IP68 like the Google Pixel 10 Pro Fold. That is the best on the market in terms of a foldable when it comes to water and dust resistance, but this has lots of protection. And in my experience, OPPO stuff is very well built. This feels like a very well built phone. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Okay, time for my conclusion, and the N6 appears to answer all of those questions, doesn't it? It seems to solve all of the common foldable problems. The battery, the camera, the lack of a crease, it's still there, but it's just less. The bulk and the heft, although in fairness, most foldables these days are very thin and don't weigh very much. It's just kind of got it all licked, hasn't it? The problem is that availability. If this is available in your country and you fancy it, get it. You will love this phone. It's one of the best foldables I've ever used. If you can't buy it in your country, like the UK for instance, or the US, then it's the Z or Z Fold 7. For me personally, but this is really pushing things forward, and we can only hope that that keeps spreading across all the different brands, and maybe one day we can get the OPPO N series elsewhere. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I'll get involved as well, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you know what to do.